to the Danvers Conservation Commission meeting for April the 13th, 2023. We operate under the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 26 of the Town of Danvers General Bylaw, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. After each applicant presents his or her case and the board has had time to ask questions and discuss the project, we will accept questions from the audience. Because this is a public meeting, it is required by law that you give your name and address first. Although we may disagree on the issues raised, all persons present during this meeting are expected to be civil to all other meeting attendees. This includes the members of the commission, staff, abutters, concerned citizens, property owners, and project applicants. We also request that you confine your questions to the project and only as it pertains to the Wetlands Act. We cannot handle, nor do we have jurisdiction regarding such things as noise or traffic. All problems not related to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Danvers Wetlands Protection Bylaw must be taken up with other appropriate boards. Moving forward, we'll have a roll call. Peter Wilson is present. Vanessa Curran.
Present.
Ann McGill.
Present.
And Mike Splain.
Yeah.
Okay, first item on our agenda is a notice of intent for 200 North Street, DEP file number 14-1397. The applicant is Wallace Monroe.
That's Wally right over there.
Okay.
My name's Alex Cedrone. I work with Bobrick Engineering and Construction. So we put together the NOI application on behalf of North Street Association for water main improvements at 200 North in Danvers. Yeah, do you mind going to page?
You want the first page? It has a little.
Probably. Page 1's the cover, and then 2 is existing conditions, so that's the existing site.
And then you want the next.
Page
one.
3, I can show the temporary bypass.
There we go.
So this is the I guess western half of the site. This will be a temporary bypass while we excavate and replace the water main. So this will be above the surface. You can see this is a site prep plan, so it'll show setting up the bypass and setting up stockpile areas denoted by the circular erosion control shape. The temporary bypass consists of a 6-inch pipe to temporary hydrants so that we maintain hydrant
Above ground.
above ground, yes. And we'll have services that will most likely, it'll connect to the trailer to each mobile home in one way or another.
That's a lot of connections, huh?
Yes, yeah, it's a lot to do the bypass and then
Yep.
the permanent for sure. Yeah, next page, please. So this is the other half of the site. We'll be connecting the bypass to a hydrant in North Street here. And that'll provide service for the bypass. You can see another stockpile area set up in that location as well. Yeah, next page is good.
Sorry, there's a stall on the. And if you want to point anything, you can take the mic off and bring it right up if you need to.
Okay. Yeah. So why we're here, you can see that Nichols Brook runs along the site, so we are within resource areas. This is the same as the western half of the site, but with permanent water main services and trench, buried completely underground. All surface disturbances will be restored to their existing condition. So there's no change in pervious surface on site. So the water main will consist of a movie star. The water main will consist of a 6-inch line that will supply a permanent hydrant. The 6-inch line will be reduced to a 4 and then down to a 2-inch, and most of the main for the site will be a 2-inch copper. The water services will be 1-inch services. Some are split, where we'll have a 1-inch service with one curb stop, and then it'll tee off into each mobile home. Some vacant lots will just have a stub to a curb stop and will be left at that point in case anyone wants to fill that lot and connect to the water mains. So you may see some services that seem like they just end, like those. Those are all for vacant lots. So in terms of disturbances, the 200-foot riverfront line is right here. The 100-foot wetland buffer is there. This is the 50-foot, and this is the 35-foot. So most of the project is within the 200-foot riverfront. There's a good amount that isn't along A Street.
Sorry.
So this is the same as the bypass plan, but again, permanent underground water main and trench. Again, all surface disturbance is restored to existing condition. Difference on this site from the other, difference on this side is we will be replacing a section of sewer pipe that is broken and replacing a section of drainage pipe and a catch basin here that is damaged. This will be a normal catch basin, deep sump catch basin. We will also replace these two catch basins here and this catch basin here with leaching catch basins to promote, more infiltration on site. We will be connecting the water main, the permanent water main to the water main on North Street. There'll be a meter pit here, which will control the water for the entire site. It'll keep track of all the flow. Throughout the site, we have erosion controls, basically along the brook. And for the most part, while they're excavating, while they're trenching, they may use these stockpile areas, but chances are they will pile the dirt on the road next to the trench, and then they'll backfill at the end of each day. So there really shouldn't be much excess soil overnight or throughout storms. And I believe we have a stipulation in there for a storm event where if a storm event is imminent, they'll make sure the trench is backfilled completely before leaving the site or before the storm arrives. Next. Yeah. This is our resource area plan. You can see the green is the 200-foot riverfront. Magenta is the 100-foot wetland buffer. Blue is the 50-foot no build, and the pink or red is the 35-foot no disturb. Any questions?
Sure. First one, George, there's no waivers required here, right?
No, there is work occurring in the 35 and 50, but it's work that's already been there, so there's no new alteration.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to pass it along with people's questions. So, Mike?
Just first, is this the park where you're going into the Honda place? So that's the one that recently was co-opted, right?
The Honda building is right here.
Yeah, so it's the one that was recently a co-op. So is the applicant, it says the applicant is
Monroe Wallace.
Wallace, is it? Is the applicant's North Shore Association, is that correct?
The North Street Association, yeah.
Yes. I'm on the notice of intent, but I'm actually,
Do you mind going to
You go
microphone?
to the
I'm
mic?
sorry.
Yeah.
Just for the
wanted to
record.
clarify that.
my name is Wallace Monroe, whoops, sorry. 200 North Street Association. Yeah, I'm on the notice of intent, just working through the Bo Breck Engineering Company, but it is North Street Association. We became a co-op 2 years ago. This is our second year, so
Right. Okay,
That's-
thank,
that's
yeah, I was
where-
just curious on that.
Yeah,
All right,
sure.
And if I just back to the engineer, so what necessitated this, the broken pipe, or you just thought at the same time you'd do the other improvements?
I can go through that.
Yeah, would you?
John Bobrick Engineering Construction.
Sure.
So, North Street Association got us on board because they've had significant water loss with their existing water system. And obviously, that comes with a high cost. They also have had several issues with influent infiltration on their sewer system. The town's kind of notified them about the high use. There's a sewer pump station on North Street right over here.
It pumps
And-
up?
Yeah, pumps the sewage up, and that actually has a high use, so we're working with North Street to improve all these utilities, cut costs for them, and make a longer lasting utility for them. They've had to do many breaks, and their existing water distribution system is pretty subpar. So this is gonna be a significant.
Bringing up the standard to the
Yes,
standard.
yeah, to a
So
potable
then,
water
I'm just wondering,
standard.
how do you do, with all the mobile homes, you have to do an individual connection to each one?
Correct.
Yeah, and how is that done? Just,
So how is it done? We're going
does
to.
it come prefabricated like that?
No,
or you
no,
have
we're
to-
gonna build it in place. You run the copper service tube over to each individual unit, and you create a riser. So you use a piece of larger pipe, and you bring the service up. Each unit has a curb stop, so you can shut the water off in the street. It's self-draining, so for instance, if there was a break, if there's a problem, the water will drain when you shut the valve off in the street, right? But when the water's live, the water's being pushed up into the unit. It's gonna go up in a riser, say 4 feet deep. We actually have a detail of it. And it's gonna be insulated with Armorflex insulation, and it's also gonna have heat trace tape so that it won't freeze.
An individual homeowner has a shut-off? Everybody has
Correct.
their own shut-off?
Yep, not everybody. There's some that have dual. There's two services that split, and that's to help with
Oh,
costs.
you mentioned that, the T.
Yep.
But what about?
This is what it looks like right here, just a riser.
Oh, yeah.
Copper service tube comes up, you'll have an individual ball valve, and then this will be heat traced and wrapped with insulation as it goes into the unit.
So each one of these homes has an existing, some kind of existing
A riser,
setup.
yep,
So is that being pulled out and replaced,
Correct.
upgraded?
yep.
Is it gonna go in the same spot as the other one?
Generally, yep,
So there's no new additional holes being, just where they existed previously?
correct. Well, as long as we can get to it, it's just.
Yeah.
You gotta think, you're digging with an excavator next to, a unit. It's gonna be as close as we can get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you anticipate creating a lot of stockpiles?
No, as Alex has said before, generally when you're trenching, you're backfilling at the same time. You're digging and casting and digging and casting.
Back.
Yeah, gets backfilled immediately. And any excess soil that we have will be stockpiled and surrounded with erosion controls.
And how long will the project take?
It's up for debate.
It's gonna take a while,
Yeah,
isn't it?
this is a large project.
Yeah.
There's 84 units plus another 10 or 15 vacant units. There's a substantial amount of work that's gonna happen to make this
And
project.
then, you only, how many storm drains do you have on the property?
So we are replacing 4 catch basins.
Catch basins?
Correct, yep. So
And
3
they
of
go
them.
out to, they go out to,
3 of them are going to be leaching. 3 of them are currently leaching or dead-ended. The
Can you
infrastructure.
explain what you mean by leaching with those?
Yep, sure. The existing ones that are there right now that we're replacing, one of them drains to Nichols Brook, and the pipe is more or less compromised. The basin is more or less compromised. It's not in great shape. And we're replacing the one that drains to Nichols Brook with a standard Town of Danvers approved deep sump catch basin with a hood, so it offers some treatment before discharge. And then separately from that, we're gonna install leaching catch basins in the other 3 locations. And what those will do is offer infiltration on site rather than promoting discharge to the brook.
And do you think that will handle the, that's all hot top there? I mean, will it
Yeah,
handle
there is a
all
good
the-
amount of hot top, yes. The other options is to connect them all, daisy chain them together, which the cost for that will be prohibitive.
What about connecting to the existing town drainage?
That's also prohibitive cost. That would require us trenching across most of the site. And then connecting to town drainage comes with other implications regarding the town's MS4 stormwater system. So if we can, we would prefer to retain stormwater on site.
Yeah.
And not only that, when these leaching basins do overflow, right? If we have a 100-year storm event or something like that, they can handle a 25 or a 50 generally, but the 100-year will overflow, and eventually it will just sufficiently drain as it does now, because the current units don't function whatsoever.
Yeah. So everything's gonna function better, drainage is gonna be better. Just asking staff, has the town engineer reviewed this or weighed in on it for storm drain or storm?
So I've sent Steve the project, and I know John and Steve are working together and talking on it. It may not trigger a stormwater permit based on the work that's occurring, because it's not a lot of new impervious, and they're not tying into the town system, but I have sent it to Steve for his
We're
review.
waiting to hear on that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so-
under our permits, it's not triggered.
Yeah, perfect. And to add to that, this has gone in front of Mr. King for preliminary review, and he weighed in, and we're going to do an abbreviated stormwater permit through engineering, which is going to be associated to the trench opening permit, so separate from the notice of intent. The abbreviated stormwater permit is going to include more or less an operations and maintenance plan, because we're retaining the stormwater on site, and we're not impacting the town's infrastructure.
Thank you, that's all of my questions. It sounds like it needs to be done, so
Definitely.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Ann?
Well, thinking of the homeowners, how many are, when you're changing their water pipes there, are you gonna do it in batches, or are you gonna do one person
No,
at a
this will all be
time?
done at once. So the
Okay.
temporary system will be installed and up and functioning. It'll be, excuse me, chlorinated and tested, so it's potable water approved. And then it also offers fire suppression during the project, because we're going to eliminate the existing system that's there.
Okay.
Yep.
When you say eliminate the existing system, will the new system immediately start so that they won't be without water?
They will not be without water at any time with the temporary main that's going in place.
Okay,
Can't be.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question about snow removal, and this is triggered by one of the photos that was in the application. So it looked like the snow was like plowed right to the edge of the brook, which I think typically we would ask that that doesn't happen. So do you have a plan for,
This project will not be constructed during the winter months because the temporary main will freeze.
okay,
So this project, as long as materials are available, will be completed prior to the next snowfall.
okay. So this question is probably more directed at Wallace. Like, what's the general plan during the winter for snow removal?
So currently, we have Wallace Monroe, 200 North Street. Currently, we have a gentleman that comes in and plows, a local guy, and we have designated spots. Usually, a lot of the snow can be handled where it's, you know, the main streets are plowed, it's pushed to the end of the street, off to the sides. Very little, if There's a couple spots where it does get pushed over to near the Nichols Brook area. That's where one of the catch basins actually comes out and flows into the stream in that area. Most of it is handled and managed by individual homeowners. We have adequate yardage where we just kind of toss it into our yards. And, you know, I've been there since 1989, and I've gone through a few storms that the biggest one that, you know, was kind of an issue was the one that we had 110 inches that year. We actually had trucks come in and they removed it for us and brought it to a facility. But for the most part, we manage it in-house. We get a pretty good, you know, thing as far as how to manage it, where to push it, where to stack it. You know, it's pretty good. We all work together and stuff, help each other out. It's a nice community. Like I say, I've been there since 1989. This is definitely something that is going to not only help us, or, you know, there's young families there, there's older people that are there. This water system is old, it's outdated, and it really needs to be done. I mean, as far as the sewer and the water infiltration that goes into it is a burden on the town and the pump station, and that's going to take a big burden off of them. And it's going to cost a lot of money, but it definitely needs to be done. So hopefully I answered your question there without
And I realize my
going
line
on.
of questioning really doesn't have anything to do with this project whatsoever, but I saw the photo, and
Yeah.
typically we try not to have like snow or snow
Sure.
storage areas like adjacent to a water body. So that was just something that really kind of stuck out to me.
Understandable.
I think that's all I have.
Okay.
That's it?
Yeah.
Vanessa? When do you plan to do this? This summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, funding, material availability, all the above is just dependent on when this project starts.
And this is self-funded? The co-op is funding it?
Yep.
Okay, the way I see this, the biggest risk with this project is erosion, just the spoils of digging and getting into the brook. Well, George, this, I guess, directed at you. Will someone be out there periodically to check on this project to make sure that the erosion control is working as intended?
Yes. The Conservation Commission field staff, it's not myself, but we do have a field technician, will be inspecting weekly. And then considering they have a stormwater permit and the trench opening permit, the engineering division is going to be on there regularly as well.
Okay, do we need to make that a part of the order of conditions, or is that standard?
If the commission wants to, I can assure them it will happen, but if they want to keep that due diligence in the order, that's,
Might as well.
yeah.
Does anyone from the public have any questions? Hearing none? I don't know, guys, I think I'm in favor of this. It's a, anyone else have problems with that?
Well, I mean, do we need, are we waiting on any more information, or we're all set?
They're all set. Stormwater is absolutely all set. And no information from DEP or myself.
And just one more follow-up. Did you say snow does get stockpiled by the brook?
Wallace Monroe, most of it, like I say, is pushed to the end of the park, where Route 95 is the back end of our,
Right.
like the northern end of our park. So most of it comes from North Street, and it all gets pushed out that way. There's parking kind of on that side of the street. Very little gets pushed over there because we just don't want to push it down into the brook. And we have a lot of people that are very conscious about that brook, and we take pride in keeping dirt and just, you know, trash out of there and stuff. So, yeah, we try, you know, to just, you know, leave that the way it is and be vigilant about what we do in those areas. So,
We have issues about chemical treating on the hot top, or salting, or,
So in new orders of conditions, the commission usually puts orders to not use salt. I would say maybe if there are areas to better store snow, if the commission were to say, hey, you can't store snow behind that red line, is that going to impact where you do store snow? If the commission wants to have that discussion, under this order, they can prohibit snow storage in the 35, for example, but there may be physically nowhere else on site. So if the
Do we
commission
know
wants
that?
to
I
have
mean,
that,
Do you need this, you know whether, could you point out the
sure.
35?
it's this red line at the top.
Yeah, he will. So if we don't want snow beyond the 35,
Yeah, so, I'm trying to find my clearance here. Where's?
can you help him?
Yeah, this is the,
But there's a street within the 35, Mike.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe that's,
That photo was probably taken over here.
yeah, Vanessa, do you want me to pull that up?
we have some
You feel like
photos
it?
here.
I mean,
Sure.
this is,
Since I opened this can of worms.
it's all good to discuss.
I think we have some.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull the photo up.
Did you get those? But he turns the online, listed online, like
Yeah.
on
Yeah, so that photo was,
So they stayed online.
Can you point where that is? Yeah.
Apologies. What page is that photo, Mike?
this is fine. So that photo was taken right over here,
Yeah.
where I think a lot of the snow storage gets pushed up in this area, but I think some of it gets pushed at the end of that because they don't have enough room to push all this snow this way. So, yeah,
You know,
that's
that,
correct.
it could also be that area is under the area of where the restoration occurred, not exactly in that physical area, but that is in the project jurisdiction of where the bank stabilization happened. So knowing the mobile home's aware of the issue, if the commission doesn't want to make it a condition, you guys absolutely are at will too. I could also talk, knowing the mobile home knows, and I can also let Mary Rimmer know and talk with her about, in her inspections over winter seasons, making sure that isn't pushed up. So just options for the commission, but
Well, how do
that's,
we define the area? The,
that would be up to you. You could use the 35 as an example, or knowing I know where,
is the road in the 35?
Yes.
Right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of the road is, at the location of the photo, you can see C Street, to the right is
Could you
within.
just point that out?
sorry, I'll zoom out.
This is
So-
the 35,
Yeah,
this red line.
yeah.
This is the brook. So, the photo was taken over here at the end of the road.
And almost all of C Street is in the 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have a lot of roadway within.
So the snow, as the snow gets pushed, is it along this way? How, or could you just point out the direction how the snow gets pushed? Like if you're a plow? Could you just show me?
I think it's both, Mike, both directions.
So my role as, on the association, I'm on the board of directors, and I'm in charge of the maintenance and the operations of the park. Usually the snow just gets pushed down into a corner, loops around, and we don't necessarily, and we won't now, knowing this, no snow will get left beyond this 35-foot line, because that's my understanding. If
Yeah.
it shouldn't be there, and it won't be there, because I'll be the one that'll be
I
overseeing
know though
that.
you're gonna have to run a plow through there to get the
Yep.
snow out of there, but we
Sure.
just don't wanna be making a big piles of snow which will then go into the brook.
What I'll do is I'll tell them that when you plow, you go down and you make the corner, you don't stockpile it in that corner or either end on any of that street that is next to the brook there.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay.
So, this isn't part of this, so I'm just curious, are you doing like condominiums, like an assessment to pay for this, or like on everybody? How does it, because that seems like an expensive proposition.
It is a very expensive proposition, and what happened was when we purchased the property, the lenders that we borrowed the money from as part of the purchase was that we had an engineering company come out and just do an oversight of the whole property and let us know what things were subpar and what needs to be fixed. And so in order for us to purchase the property, part of the agreement was that we needed to make sure that all of this was fixed. And we're doing it. We're making it right, because water's important, drainage is important, sewerage
Good,
is important.
everybody's an
Yeah.
owner now, that's gonna be a nice
Yeah,
park. Yeah. and we're
No, I'm
making
hoping
it-
it's gonna be a beautiful place, and, you know, people will be able to drink good, clean water, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Will the roads be repaved after all this?
So the trench will have temporary pavement, most likely over next winter, and then in the spring, it'll be, the contractor will return to mill and overlay an inch and a half down. It's usually on 6 inches on both sides of the trench, so that it really seals it up good. And I think that is the only pavement that we're proposing to do. There were, just final trench pave after next winter.
Okay, anybody else? Any other questions? We're all familiar with the site, right? So I don't think we need to get out there.
Yeah.
Okay, if someone makes a motion, let's do it.
Did it close the public hearing?
Yes, I should.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 200 North Street, DEP file number 14-1397.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Vanessa, you're on a roll.
What's that?
I said you're on a roll.
Oh,
You make a
okay.
motion on the next
You
one.
said no waivers, right, Georgia?
Yep.
Okay. So make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 200 North Street, DEP file number 14-1397, with the condition that staff check on it weekly. Did you want to add that?
Well, is it weekly or
We could do bi-weekly monitoring.
Bi-weekly?
Bi-weekly?
Sure.
the snow stockpiled in the 35, right?
Yes. Is that
Didn't we
it?
say that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's it, right?
right.
Those are all the
Okay.
ones we
That was
discussed?
it, right.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is a notice of intent
Thank you, guys.
for 51 Riverview Avenue, DEP file number 14-1398. The applicants are Sean and Melissa Hagerty. And
Good evening. Bill Manuel from Wetlands and Land Management in Danvers. And I'm here to talk about a notice of intent for 51 Riverview Avenue. It is for repair of a portion of the seawall at the property. And here's the site plan existing conditions. And it's this portion right through here that happens to be a timber wall. The rest of the seawall is a concrete and riprap wall. It has a Chapter 91 license. All of it is licensed. But it's the timber wall that is degrading and actually falling apart. Probably the ice is grabbing some of the timbers and pulling them out of place, and you can see where some of them are just laying on the flats. So our proposal is to disassemble this portion of the wall. It's about 70 linear feet, and then reassemble it with a gravity block wall, or you may know a shea block wall. The commission is well familiar with this because there are two projects on Tibbetts Avenue that were recently just completed, the same type of wall, where you put a stone base or a stone leveling pad down, and then you just bring the blocks in and stack them up. They're interlocking, and you just stack them one on top of the other. So it occurs basically right along the same footprint of the existing wall. The only difference is there are these timber steps, and they are not needed anymore, so that we'll just remove those steps and just backfill that section, and they will not be reconstructed. The access is perfectly open and level from Riverview Avenue. There's on the second sheet of the plan, you don't have to go there, but the second sheet has sort of a construction sequence and an erosion control detail. There's a construction entrance pad, a stone entrance pad from the street to the property. It's a straight shot right across the lawn. They'll be using a mini excavator to do the work. They will work at low tide when they're, having interface with the mud flats. We've already got our review back from the Division of Marine Fisheries, and the only, their suggestions were that work at low tide, do everything from the land side. And the interesting point that they brought up was they're not in favor of installing these silt booms in tidal areas because they feel they are ineffective. As long as you work during low tides, whenever you're interfacing with the flats, and work from the landward side, they don't recommend installing that. So it's up to the commission whether they want to have that as a condition or not. So we showed it on the plan because typically in the past, that's what the commission likes to see. So that's it. It's repairing that wall in place, and they'll be working in sections. They're not going to tear the whole thing out and then have the whole 70 linear feet exposed to tidal action. They'll be working in sections on what they can remove, get the base course in, or at least get the base course in and stabilize it, maybe even the first course of block, so that the entire area is not subject to erosion and tidal action. So that's it.
Okay, so it seems like the key thing is to work only during low tide,
Low tide.
or lower tides. At some point, tide coming in, you have to get finished.
Once we're out of the mud, then it really doesn't matter because you're working with concrete block. They're just being stacked, and then
Right.
you're working behind that. So definitely don't work at low tide whenever you have interaction with the mud flat.
Okay, and all the materials and machinery is coming in from the landward side.
That's correct.
All right, Mike, any questions?
No.
Vanessa, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question about the height of the wall.
Yep.
So is it around 9-ish feet above mean high tide?
No, it's about, the face of the wall at low tide is about 4 feet high.
Okay.
You can see from the contours here is elevation 2 that intercepts the wall, and then here's elevation, that's 6. Yeah, so it's a 4-foot face.
I think that's 9, though.
What, Georgia?
I think that was a 9. I had estimated the top of wall at elevation 9.
Anyways, the question, I'll just tell you why I'm asking. So Georgia had left us a note that the seawall, the top of it was about 9, but the base flood elevation was 10. So I was asking about raising, should it be raised a foot?
No, it won't matter at all, because just raising that one section of the wall is not going to stop any flood incursion. It's just going to go around it.
Is that because like the rest of the wall and the other section of the yard is at 9?
Yep,
Okay.
and not to mention the abutters property and everybody else. You know,
Okay,
this is an
so just that one section won't flood. Okay.
AE zone, so on an advancing flood, everything is flooded equally.
Okay, okay. And then I just had one question about the steps that aren't being replaced.
Mhm.
So what was the previous function of them, and why is it decided that they don't need to be there anymore?
The previous function was apparently just to get down to the flats,
Okay,
but they have a licensed ramp and float, so they don't need to get down that way. It's just another maintenance issue.
Okay.
And not to mention that with this style of wall, it's kind of difficult to build in steps with it. It's easier to just run a straight shot.
okay, so that's all going to be removed and then filled in?
Yep.
Okay. I don't think I have any more questions right now.
Okay,
I have a question now.
go ahead, Mike.
When Ann's done.
Go ahead.
Oh, Bill, the Division of Marine Fisheries had a comment, and it had to do with the use of silt. It says that they don't recommend silt curtains be used in the intertidal settings due to their poor performance. Are you familiar with that?
That's what I was just explaining earlier.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what gets used in its place?
Their suggestion is as long as,
Well, that says best management practices, but I'm wondering, could you just point out where they call intertidal and what would be put there instead?
well, all of this is intertidal, because at high tide, the face of the wall is the water's up against it. So all of that's intertidal. At low tide, it's a mud flat. This is the floating silt curtain that we had suggested, and DMF is saying it's ineffective in a tidal zone, so why even install it?
So what would you put there instead?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yep.
The fact that it doesn't help, so does that seem right? She's shaking her head.
In their
confirmed
opinion, you know,
Yeah.
it could have a benefit if, I don't know, if something went overboard, at least something's there to make it so it doesn't float away.
But that's it.
That's about it.
All right, that's the only question I had. I forgot to ask that before.
Yeah.
Okay. Ann, do you have any questions?
They talk about relocating the shellfish population in the mudflat there. Do we know that there are clams in the mudflat, or has that been?
Yeah, based on previous work we've done down on Tibbetts Avenue where the DMF representative came out, and we did some digging. There wasn't a lot, but there were some soft shell clams in there. So yeah, there's a possibility that there could be some clams in the mud right up against the wall. And that was our suggestion, that, just like a recreational or a commercial clammer, they would dig and, they leave a pile of mud right there. Some of them kick it back in, some of them don't, but the next tide sort of erases all their presence. So, that's, I suggested, okay, well, let's scrape the first 6 inches off, go through it. If there's any live shellfish, then just relocate it out of the way.
Oh, okay.
Is that where they exist, in that first 6 inches?
Usually first 6 to 12 inches, yep.
No?
Oh, okay.
That's just in the area where the wall is going, so you're not going to be disturbing much.
No,
Not going waterward at all.
that's correct. The detail shows there's a 6-inch overdig in front of the wall. So that's 6 inches is what we're concerned about.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yep, that's good.
Any other questions, Ann?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Is there any public comment?
Bill's not here.
Go,
Could
go.
really work
I
the
have another
room, aren't it
question.
good?
Can I?
Vanessa? Go
Yes, sorry. So I have a question about their Chapter 91 license that's requiring public access signage on the east and west sides, and I was just wondering if those signs are in there.
No, I haven't seen those signs.
Okay. So are you open to having that be a condition of the order?
It's a condition of the license, so
We're going to double.
I'm fine with
condition
it.
Double it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? No?
No?
All right, someone can make a motion, we'll close the hearing?
I'll make go ahead, Ann.
All right, I'll make a motion, we close the hearing for 51 Riverview Avenue, DEP file number 14-1398.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, good luck. What's your
Wait,
estimate?
Wait,
more
wait,
step.
wait.
She needs to now make a motion.
That was only the
to
public
enter an
hearing.
order of
That was
conditions.
Getting ahead of myself here,
What are
sorry.
you being here for?
What is it?
I'll make a
All right, go
motion. I'll make a motion to issue a notice of intent for order of conditions, sorry, 51 Riverview Ave, DEP file number 14-1398, with the condition that the Chapter 91 public access signage be installed as required. Do we have any others?
Well, best management practices is a given, and we don't have to say that.
Well, if the commission wants to go along with DMS recommendation that the silt boom shown on the plan not be shown, that would be a simple condition.
All right.
We should follow the DMF recommendation.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I think that's it.
That's it. You
Okay.
got that, Bill?
Got it.
Did we second the motion?
Not yet.
Okay.
Did she second?
Who's
We all
gonna
have
second?
spring fever, sorry.
I second the motion.
Beautiful.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Old or new business, we have minutes from March 23rd, 2023, October 13th, 2022, September 8th, 2022, and August 25th, 2002.
I thought we took care of those last meeting.
Those are different ones.
Yeah, I'm going to let the commission know that we have written and recorded the backlog of some minutes, but now we need to officially vote them in. So over
okay.
time, I'm slowly going to be giving you minutes to just give an okay on.
Yeah.
But we're all caught up on the
Bill,
newest. Yeah.
Okay.
So, in response to your email or text, I didn't think that was too many to review.
Okay.
I
Did
did.
you ask that? Yeah.
And did you think it was, because honestly, if it's too much, we can do 2 at a time, 3 at a
I
time.
think 3 would be
4
good.
time is workable. That's
4 would be the max, right?
How thoroughly are you reviewing these minutes, Ms.
I'm
Curran?
just reading them.
I know, I'm only, just like, I think 2 to 3 seems, I'll review how long they are. If they're short meetings, maybe I can
Yeah, the
do,
shorties can.
I think that's a
pile
better
up,
way to do
yeah.
it.
Sure.
Yep, okay,
I had just one comment on the August 25th minutes.
yes.
I think there was like an agenda item that said it was continued, and then the agenda item was discussed.
Got it, okay. I'll make sure we take that out.
Okay.
And that was August 25th.
Yes.
Okay,
Because I think it said it was continued to September 8th, but then we discussed it.
and then we had, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to vote in those with that suggested change? If the commission was okay with the other 4?
Can that change be made?
Yeah, that's a
without us
very
needing
simple.
to review? Yeah, let's do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Okay, if someone can make a motion to accept the minutes, we will.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of March 23rd, 2023, October 13th, 2022, September 8th, 2022, and August 25th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone make a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion that we adjourn the April 13th meeting of the Conservation Commission.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you all.